Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the New Earth AC. And today we were just on a few minutes ago, and now we're back on again. Today's a day full of community chats, is what we're doing, and we have a lot of people that are signed up to do Unity circles coming up in the future. And Adam is one of the people that has put up his hand and said, "I'll do a circle."
I did.
So welcome, Adam.
Awesome. Thank you so much. But to both of you, appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, excited to have you.
Yeah.
So tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do, and the things that you put out for the public.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, so I you can't tell already by the name. So, I do mediumship. So I'm psychic medium, remote viewer, healer, musician. I guess you can still call it radio host, even though it's sort of like this, where you just jump on live video stuff. So I still kind of use radio host as a generalized name for it. And then I said a musician. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's pretty quick. I mean, but a lot of those kind of expand into deeper things too. But both Paranormal Investigator, that's another thing that I do quite a bit about. Full plate. I make my rounds all over the place. I mean, even this week it was crazy. I was doing a little bit of everything this week. So after today, or after like later this afternoon, I have to make one run, like one chore. I have to go to a store, and then when I come home, I'm just gonna like plop on the couch for the rest of the evening.
And just veg. I get that for sure. You know what's so funny though is we work so hard to be free from our day-to-day job, and then when we finally get free from it and we're our own boss, we forget to not make ourselves slaves to ourselves.
Yep. Yeah.
Because we schedule the crap out of ourselves. And then we're like, what are we doing? We have no free time.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's, it's always funny too. Cause I mean, I have a wife and still, a couple of young kids and sometimes they're just like, you going to make some time for us? I'm like, yeah, I probably should.
Yeah. My family too. They're like, hey, you told me you were going to do this. And I'm like, after 3:00. Oh, well.
Yeah. I was good. I was great yesterday. I mean, I had I did a meditation session with live music by me, and right after I got done with that, we had dinner. I cooked dinner, so I mean, shows you how hard I was working yesterday. I cooked dinner, and then afterwards, I sat down. We watched a movie together. So I'm like, I shifted very quickly, from being doing my passions to then making sure I'm a part of the family still.
Yeah, I think we all jump around and do that. Definitely after we get done with the show, in the comments put your link to what you did yesterday live, because that was really amazing.
I can do that.
You can go and check that out.
Yep.
Which will be really cool.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Talk about your music. How did you come about it, and how
I'd like to hear the story.
Yeah. I'll try not to go too deep but it is kind of it is a fun little story, but I'll keep it as short as possible. But the easiest thing was my father grew up doing music, phenomenal player, musician. One of the things that I always admired watching was just, I mean, he was good. He was really good. He, tenor saxophone and clarinet, just, phenomenal. And, heard all the stories growing up, he started when he was really young, and by the time he was in high school, he was already playing paid jobs on weekends, And so, sometimes we'd get to go to the events that the band that he was a part of were playing. And back then, to show that where my heritage is we were Polish, so a lot of Polish weddings and get together, gatherings and things, and so a lot of polka music flew through here. But it got to the point when I was getting a little bit older, and I really wanted to do sports, being a typical boy, and so I was doing the sports. And then when the band stuff started coming up in elementary school, it was like, I kind of like the sports a little bit more. I don't know if I want to, spend so much time sitting around playing. But right after so the way it works, right for us was that, you started playing in 5th grade and then 6th grade, and then you go to junior high for 7th and 8th. And unfortunately, I didn't start doing the music, early enough, but they had a class that they were going to take moving into 7th grade, junior high. They were going to have a slow class for people that were still struggling. They just weren't getting, weren't reading or weren't able to play, real well. So they were going to have another class. Well, it was like, hey, if you can get your chops up to speed, you can join the full band. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. Something called to me saying, you know what, you need to play the music. You've got the perfect person in your house that helped teach you music.
Yeah.
And so I ended up taking up the alto saxophone because it was something that my dad plays saxophone, both alto and tenor, but he was just, let's go. So I actually, they cleaned up his original alto, which he still owned. And we got it tuned up that summer. So that summer, once it got cleaned and back into my hands, every day I was just practicing. And then, my dad would come in and, teach me things or, hey, do it like this, and so it was, crazy to have your dad teaching you music because, it's like, is it going to be a little bit different than like if you go, hire somebody? But I knew if I wanted to get up to speed quick enough, he was going to be the best choice. So fast forward, you get into junior high, I'm in that slow class and, again, I just kept pushing hard, really practicing. And so you get through the first quarter, get to the second quarter, which is, ending in December. Well, the band director, was just like, you know what, you've come a long way. And, long way in the fact that, you're trying to play catch up. Sure enough, he says, when we come back from, Christmas break, winter break, you're going to be in the full band. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm still, working at it, but so sure enough, so I get in there and right at that point, there was probably about 5 or 6 other alto saxophones. So I was dead last. So, when you're in the lower part of the section, you play kind of the really easy parts,
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, still kept practicing. By the end of the school year, so by June at that time, I got, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to pat myself on the back, but I got so good that I ended up beating out the first chair and taking first chair over. So basically in like 11 months, I went from never playing an instrument to them being first chair. And so huge thanks to my dad.
Not only that, I think
talent.
I think that you probably had it in you already before you started.
Yep. Oh, and I totally agree. And I think that's why it just called to me, and even then being that I was late at it, which is interesting because I was late at doing the mediumship stuff too, but it was so cool, and so I did the band and just had a great time. And then I started taking up, yeah, the image might look a little like, like I'm this like hard stern guy, but back then, I was all clean shaven, short hair. And so I even got into, I picked up the guitar. I started singing a little bit. So, I kind of had like a hard rock and heavy metal kind of band. So I was kind of doing some of that too. And get out of high school a few years, go through some college. And basically I was taking an outdoor survival class. And this is kind of where the flutes come into play. So I was taking, I wanted to get back to being outdoors again. This is the calling where it ties into everything I do nowadays. But I was taking basically a shamanic class. And one of the instructors, we're sitting around a fire in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't even have cell phone coverage. That's how isolated we were. He's playing this native flute. And I'm like on the floor, around the campfire, just like, what is this? I've heard of it, but never heard it in person. And it completely changed my life. And my wife was with me at the time, and we were walking back to our tent at the end of the night. And I said, honey, it's October at this point. I said, for Christmas, I said, I want a Native American flute for Christmas this year. I don't want anything else. I need this flute. And so
what is a Native American flute?
Oh yeah. I've heard it. Well, just so happens that I have a couple next to me right now.
Ooh, awesome.
So
That's
basically
beautiful.
this is a signature fruit by a Native American called John Two Hawks. This one I like because it's got a unique sound to it. But what's cool about the instruments is the natives, mostly when we do flute, you always see it like this. So it's on the side. You're doing a transverse style. You have to blow over the hole to get the sound. Well, Native Americans got creative. So they found out that you can. So there's basically 2 flutes here. There's this front part, and I'm using general terms, not the official terms, but they have this front part. There's a wall right here, which you can kind of see if I tilt it right. You can kind of see the hole up there. So there's 2 holes. But what happens is you're getting this motion, but through here. So the air goes in, hits the wall, it goes up, hits this block, and then there's a teeny tiny little gap right underneath here where my finger is, which is hard to see. But but that does the air over the top, just like it would like when you see a silver concert flute. So it's all in the same thing. So it's very unique, and they were very smart, even for, and then doing this all out of wood and stuff. So
I imagine like each one is unique. Does each one have a unique sound to it?
The size of it, the wood quality make a huge difference. So this is an aromatic cedar. You can make them pretty much out of every single wood there is out there. Every wood that's been used. I mean, I have one flute. The wood is kauri, which most people don't even know what that is. Yeah. Kauri was an ancient wood that existed before the last ice age. It was bigger than the California redwoods. Bigger.
Wow.
So they have found some in peat bogs, swamp areas that were covered up, and with the lack of oxygen, the wood didn't break down throughout the centuries. So the flute I have is dated or carbon dated at 55,555 years old, plus or minus 10 or 20 years.
That's amazing.
So they took that wood, carved it into a flute. So I always say that's my oldest flute.
I can believe that. My son, see, we have bogs over here in Ireland.
Oh yeah, yes.
And my son, my oldest son, he's on his farm. They have a lot of bog, and we were talking about, because our dog isn't doing so well, and he was going to bury him for us. And I was like, oh, take him out to the bog somewhere. He goes, Mom, you don't want to put him in the bog. He's like, you could go like 300 years from now and won't even decompose or anything.
Right.
I'm like, what? Right. He's like, he'll look exactly the same way if you stick him in the bog.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. So, but yeah, you can imagine. But and then also because I mentioned size wise, like this one's tuned to F sharp. So all these flutes are tuned a certain way, and you can play them in a minor scale or in a major scale. So, but you're limited on how many notes you can actually play. But but it caught me, and I think it's one of those things. It's one thing to hear it through, CD or but when you hear one in person, I think it just changes the way you think about things. And one other cool fact about the Native American flute is that it's the closest to the vibrations, tones, frequencies to our dreamlike state. It's the only instrument in the world that is, and this has scientifically been proven. So that's why a lot of people, when they hear Native American flutes, they'll fall asleep to it, because it just gets your brain in that right spot before it's like you're out. And a lot of people I have one CD out there, which I go under a different name for the music. So I go under Adam Hawkins, and the first CD is First Flight, Let the Journey Begin.
Can people find that CD?
Yep. Yeah. So for people that are on the download stuff, you can find it on all the major download sites. So you got to look up Adam Hawkins, HAWKINS.
HAWKINS what?
Yep. That's it, Adam Hawkins. And then the CD is called First Flight, Let the Journey Begin, which was appropriately named for the whole thing. But it's just flute music only. It really takes you on a journey. I really designed it so that way it's not for just one person or one particular thing. We all have, issues we deal with, whether it's, we're in physical pain, we're in emotional pain. You are stressed to no end. And so what happens is when you listen to it, you kind of throw that intention out there. Hey, I need help with this, or I want, I need this music to do this for me. And when people do that, they, I get so many great comments and feedback and reviews on what it's done for people. People with addictions have come back and say, you know what, you probably saved my life, being able to listen to this instead of being 6 feet under. So, which is, sometimes it's hard to even like fathom, that you're doing this because you enjoy it. It's your passion. We all do what we do because we love it. And, it's neat to just have that music to be so powerful. There's no voice to it, but yet we feel something out of it. There's something that wasn't easy for me to find. The music's there, but to put that energy out there in the way that all of us know about, it's different. And so I'm really pushing, whatever I can out there, and all my
It's
shows are a little
coded.
bit different.
Your the sound and the music that you create is coded, and it's got all of the keys and codes that you have to give to the world, and it's absolutely amazing. And I really hope that in the future for you, that you have lots of people coming to you looking for music to go along with their work. So like for background music and things like that.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll start you on a collaboration.
Absolutely.
Of sorts.
Absolutely.
What I was going to say is that it is a form of light language. That music, it comes through the same way it does through the body, goes through the flute, and that energy comes out and it opens up keys and codes that's already within the body. And so it's like we did a healing not too long ago on the Hearts of Collective Change, and it just opened up in something inside of me when I was doing the light language. So I mean, even the people that are doing the light language, it opened something up in that too. So it was just really amazing, and I'm excited to see what happens on the next one tomorrow night.
Right.
What we're gonna do.
You know, and that's the thing is, even for me, here it is, you know, I'm kind of working, and I'm working, I'm playing, you know, I'm actually trying to, do something. And yet I still find, I get relaxed. I get, and it's because it's not work for me. A lot of times I let spirit do most of it. I'm just blowing the air in it. I let them do the thing, they're moving my fingers to play to what everybody that's listening or watching needs at the time. The CD is, I don't play the CD. The CD is for, or, if you download it, the CD is for whatever in your own spare time. When I do a show, I create it on the spot. So that way it is set for what the generalized needs are for the group.
And it never can be, it's like always, it's never redone. It's like,
right.
That's it.
So yeah, sometimes you'll get a few. There's one flute that I use that I didn't bring with me, here, but there's one flute that I use. I always play it the same way, just because it has a very unique style to it as far as the tones go. And so when I play it, I play the same way. I change a little bit in the middle of the song, but the beginning is always the same, because it really shakes you deep to the core.
Wonder which one was you playing when I did that? Do you remember?
Gosh, I probably don't remember it unless we went back and checked.
We'll have to go back and check it out.
Yeah.
You know that the background that you have on behind you? Yeah. It reminds me of, okay, so when I was growing up, we used to have this camp on a lake, and it's like exactly the camp, like with the water, everything. It looks like the whole place looks like the camp. Cool. I keep looking at him going, oh my God, he's up at Forest Lake. What's going on?
You know what's interesting? But Robin, that this image called to me to do it, because I always try every time I do whether I'm a guest or I'm hosting a show, I do a different background. But when I saw this one, something said I needed this one.
Yeah, I just keep looking at it, and I'm like, oh my God, and I don't know if you know this, but that exact place where you put exactly like over there, right next to where you're sitting, is where I go for, when you go to your heart garden. That's my place. I always go to, and you have it right there. It's weird.
What is that?
We're in tune, Robin. We're in tune.
Do you want to do a sample of your music?
Yeah. I won't do it real long, but I mean, I have two with me, so that way you can hear a couple different sounds.
So will you intend that whatever comes out is for?
Yeah, that's it. I have no idea what I'm going to do. As soon as I get ready to play, it's something I'll feel it, and then it'll just go with it. So it's kind of neat.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take myself out and Bonnie out, and we're going to make you full screen while you're playing.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll play both songs back to back, so that way you can just keep it there then.
Okay. And if you start doing light language, if you start moving your hands or whatever, I'll just put you back on. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That was really cool. Can I tell you what the first one I was feeling when you were playing? I was feeling like a call to arms, or like a call to like stand up and like, you know, like get ready to like do your purpose. And then the second one felt like very enchanting, very magical. It was almost like there was codes, there was like keys and codes that came through for one's purpose, to start like finding the magic within themselves.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
The sensations that I was getting like was in the crown, and then this is the second one, the crown, the third eye, around the ears, and then down to the heart, and well, through the throat and to the heart. So it's almost like it was making a triangle, but it was hitting all those spots, and it was just amazing, just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
But
Yeah,
I could have spoke light language, but I wanted to listen to you play.
That is absolutely beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Painting.
Yeah.
That's all. Is that all hand painted?
It's all hand painted. Yep. And so this one's another signature flute by that's a female group called Paint It Raven. And I'm really, really good friends with them. And when I found out that they were going to be doing a signature flute, I'm like, I am in. So yeah. So it's kind of supposed to be like a phoenix a little bit, which is, you know, kind of where you got the fire going and stuff like that. But yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, the price ranges on some of these, because some guys will get into like massive amounts of carving and stuff like that, and we're talking thousands of dollars sometimes, which is insane. I mean, I'm pretty close to, you know, 1,000 on a couple of them, but I haven't crossed that one yet. But I will say, and maybe it'll be interesting for people to know that, yeah, I stopped counting how many I own, because again, whether it's the artwork, whether it's the key signature, or just, you know, maybe I know who, you know, I know the flute maker, but I'm probably somewhere in the 70, 80, 90 range as far as how many flutes I own. So it's a bad addiction on that aspect, but man, they all do their thing. They all, I mean, it's funny too, is like,
It's almost like they each have their little soul signature of their own.
Yeah.
It's like they have their own little magic about them.
And if you think about it, I mean, with the wooden ones, I mean, almost every element has to come together to make them. So I think that's what's really neat, especially if you get it done in the traditional way. So even a traditional way, fire's involved. So, you wouldn't normally do that because you're like, hey, we're working with a wooden instrument. You don't put fire near wood, but you do, because what they, and real quickly, Native Americans, how they didn't have drills, and you can't just bang on a piece of wood and hope that you're going to get that little, fingering hole. So what they did was they would, the sticks would be on fire. So they would put the ember on top of it and then burn through the wood. So you get more of a charring effect until you finally break through.
So we have Jennifer has put up. She says, he sounds like me, but addiction is crystals. And I have addiction to crystals. And I also have addiction to oracle cards.
Yeah.
You do have an addiction to flutes.
Yep, I do. Yeah. It's slowed down in recent years, which is probably a good thing because my bank account appreciates that. But yeah, I still find time to, if I see something that really calls to me, then I'll get that. And there's like a whole collection of them that I want to get one time because they're all tuned to the 432 hertz frequency. And I would love to get a set of those to use for like really dedicate a true healing session where I can use 432 flutes only. So that's on the radar, but that one, I think in general, that would cost me well over one if I was to get the whole set.
Like pushing you over the limit.
But I could get onesie twosies I could probably fit in, but I couldn't get them all at once.
Jennifer would want me to mention how that you connected all of us with that song that you did in the when we did the energy thing for the hearts, and he was bringing in Kuan Yin and the light language. It sort of like connected us all, and we had this profound I don't know, it was just amazing. It
was a great suggestion. Wasn't it you, Bonnie, that mentioned it? You were like, hey, you should bring your flutes. And I'm like, I didn't even think about it. I was just going to do, my other normal healing stuff. And I'm like, let's do the flutes. That sounds like a good idea.
I like it because it brings in the magic.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely adds. I mean, it's a lot of, there's a good chance that we're all doing some form of the same thing, to some degree. I say that loosely, but, and so why not bring something else that just adds to it a little differently, and we know tones and frequencies and music and things just add a whole amazing feeling, the energies that you're going to pick up, during it. And, it's such a cool thing. And I love doing those type of shows like I did yesterday. And it just, I do historical type shows where, I'll do fun songs and I bring tons of humor into it, to, keep people interested. And, I even do, kids shows, because especially youngins, and they just love that because, I bring in different things and I bring in, I have horns that are flutes. And so I bring those in and the kids just fall over backwards over that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so, I got a whole thing that if I'm going to do a historical show where I play music, but at the same time, educate everybody on it, it becomes fun because it's like about an hour and a half, 2 hours long to kind of get through it. But
so that brings me to, what are you going to do on the circle when we do your circle?
Well, I would think it's going to be just like what I did yesterday. I think I'm going to, I won't know until right then, what type of energy I need to put into it, because once I kind of feel the vibe from it, because obviously even through technology, we can still feel what's going on. And I'll feel like I'm in everybody's, presence, their space at that moment. And I'll kind of be able to pump it out as to, what the general group needs. And so, I'll just probably do the same thing. I'll probably have a collection of them, and whatever amount of time I'm allowed, I will make that work in my my behalf.
Well, we say about an hour, but if you go over, we don't care. Like it's not like we won't schedule anybody else on that day.
Yeah. So you just take as little or as long as you need.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, I mean, I try to keep it like between 45 and 50 minutes. And then because I usually, I do a little bit of a talking just to kind of, I've always found that when I can, even though everybody wants to jump in on everything, it's like, well, no, let's relax a second before we, jump 2 feet in. So, I talk, I slow my voice down dramatically. And then even afterwards, I kind of, again, think I'm even slower when I'm talking, and I'm really trying to just bring people back up, because the session, when you wake up from your meditation or self-reflection, whatever you're doing, it's like you're waking up for the first time in the morning. You're like, oh, my eyes, and you're stretching, you're wiggling your fingers and toes. And so it's pretty profound for people that really open themselves up to it. So yeah, they notice, they're like, wow, it's like I've been sleeping all night, so I leave a little time in the beginning, at the end of those, to, give people time to kind of get back on planet Earth. So
yeah.
So what do you offer other than just with the flutes? You were talking about other things that you do. I'd like to just talk about that. So what do you do?
So I do, the psychic medium. Well, that's the thing. I have so many things under, that I do, but I do the psychic mediumship. So for those that are looking to connect with somebody, loved one, friend, or whatever like that, sometimes they're looking for closure or just looking for answers. So I offer that. I do healing, which, I have, obviously that's one of those that kind of branches out into several different ways, but the music is obviously one of them, even though I don't really I haven't put that in there as that's my, go-to session. I think I save those for big group things versus a personal, but it makes me think even now that maybe that's something I could offer. We'll see.
Yeah. Sure.
But then I do other healing. I do a shamanic, I do shamanic style healing, which is technically more like Reiki because it is energy work. It's fun is doing the shamanic stuff that I was taught. It's funny because the same teacher taught Reiki, and so it's interesting. He goes, yeah, the only thing different is really just the setup. So most of the things are so identical. Yeah.
In the language, but you could use the flute music for healing, because the way light language and codes and keys work is whatever intention you have. So if you intend to help someone clear, then whatever comes through the flute's going to help them clear.
Right.
It works the same way. Just when you're working with Reiki and energy, whatever you intend on doing, spirit helps you do that. So,
I did.
I'm covering you up, Bonnie.
I did one time. It was interesting. I mean, I really kind of challenged myself, and I, for a few years now, once I started doing the mediumship stuff more, because the music started before that, I started, the one time I was going to do a gallery reading, which if people don't know what that is, it's basically getting in front of a group of people and then just reading whatever spirits are coming through for a certain person. And so the very first one I ever did, I said, well, wouldn't it be kind of cool? What if I just played for 15, 20 minutes just to kind of set everybody's mind, get everybody to relax and not be so off the wall, kind of craziness that we all are anyway. And so tone it down a little bit. And surprisingly, it was interesting because that worked, because it helped me, even though, again, I feel like I'm working it, but it was fun. But at the same time, I didn't know this until the middle of the gallery reading, because the partner I was working with had already read for most of the people in the room. So she was basically turning me loose, and I've never done that. So it was a crazy thing. So I'm like, well, it's a good thing I did that, because I kind of got myself in the right position to do the gallery. And so, so I am always constantly looking for ways to really now incorporate the music in with, some type of mediumship that I do, because I think it does work. I think that's possibly my niche right now. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. So tell them some of your other shows that you have, because you do you do a mediumship show with a friend, and tell us about those. Yeah,
so on I do a personal one on Saturday mornings called Mid-Morning Medium Chat, and it's it was kind of fun because nobody was really doing anything that early, and I thought, well, I kind of need a window to do things, because obviously not everybody's awake, but that was kind of the thought that I had, for at least that's what Spirit told me, was do a show in the morning, because it should be how we have dreams at night, or we have a question that we wake up to and we're like, I wonder what the answer is to that, or I want to know this. And so I designed that show, which doesn't seem like it, but it's meant to like kind of, we're all waking up, we're sitting around the breakfast table, and it's like, man, I was thinking about this. What do you think? You know, what's your opinion on it? So that was the whole philosophy behind it. Besides telling like my, you know, things that have been going on during the week, you know, what kind of spiritual things or holistic things, you know, that I can incorporate that, you know, people might benefit from, you know, or I tell about my struggles. You know, I mean, some of them I don't get too detailed, but you know, oh, this was rough. I mean, it was that nothing was happening today. You know, I mean, I was getting, you know, pounded. It's just, but it's just neat to kind of give everybody a little bit of a vibe of what I'm, you know, doing and stuff. But and then occasionally I'll have I'll bring. I hate to call it guest. I don't like to call it that, but I kind of call them a host or co-host. And so I like to bring people on there. And once in a while, I've only done 4 now. So, but you know, it's just to bring somebody on. We're just, again, something like this. We're just going to sit around. We're going to talk about whatever comes up, you know, besides, I mean, I'll definitely give all the information out and make sure that whoever's on gets to say, you know, all the things they do and where to reach them if they are looking for a session from them as well. But it's just kind of fun because we can kind of just do that little chit-chatting thing. Like I said,
over coffee and chatting.
That's it. Yeah, because we all, like I said, we all have those kind of questions when we wake up. And I think Robin was talking earlier, you know, she was writing things down in a journal after, you know, something she thought of or dreamt of. And it's like, that's the kind of the cool stuff we can talk about, you know, and because you never know, somebody might have an answer for it, you know, it might not be, you know, so, but, and I know it's early for it, but it's kind of fun. But yeah, it's 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and runs pretty much an hour. And like I said, it's just fun, just me kind of really chit-chatting and stuff. And then I also do a show with another friend of mine, another medium. Her name's Debbie. We do a show on Wednesday nights called Beyond the Silence Radio. And that one's, you know, could be topic or guest, or even then sometimes we'll do a free-for-all show and things like that. And so that one's
always fun to watch.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we, you know, talk a lot of, you know, just side stuff for a little bit, and then we kind of hit the topic pretty hard, or, you know, talk to a guest, and then we kind of jump out of it, you know, and then have some fun at the end, you know. So we have a good time. I mean, it is hilarious.
Can I ask you, where do all these shows, where do people find these shows? So
my personal one, you just, you know, go to my Adam the Black Swamp Medium page. That one you'll see pop up. Now the other one is Beyond the Silence Radio, and that one you could find on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or he's a honorary guest always on Hearts of Collective Change. He comes on there a lot too.
I do like my HOCC girls, man.
Yeah.
I love it. It's always fun. I mean, it's always funny. I'm always like Monday. I'm like, I'll hit Jen up or something like that. I'm like, you guys could be on today, and she's like, yeah, we'll be on. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll be there. And then I'm usually at the point where I'm finishing up dinner. I'm like, oh crap, they're on. So I'm always coming in like 15, 20 minutes late. Well, late as usual.
Yeah, but you know what? Though? We're never on time either.
That's okay. I never get to meet up with them because it's always my bedtime. Very rarely do I ever be able to like get there when they're live.
Right. Yeah.
When I do, I just make comments that are ridiculous because I'm so tired.
Yeah, it's just being goofy.
That's perfect.
Her and David, they get on there and they act all crazy.
But everybody has a good time.
They were having more fun than us on the show that time.
I think I was there for that one. I think I remember everybody was just going crazy. Yeah, that's right, because the nut story came up in that one.
Yeah, and David was he just come back from Shasta, and he was stuck in this hotel on quarantine, and the hotel wouldn't let him have. He wasn't able to even choose his food. He was given what he was given, and so then we were like, we're gonna have to get him out of there. And we were in the background where like all of us were trying to like figure out how we're going to get him out. And then it was like, the girls aren't listening to us there. So I guess they're no help. And they're not going to help him.
Right. But then we stopped.
But then we said, me and there was this other girl, and we said we would manifest. What do you want, David? What do you want to eat? We'll try to manifest you something. And he wanted a stir fry or something, right? And the next morning, they gave him a stir fry.
See? That's how it works. That's how it works. You know?
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. I love that. See,
I'm getting ready to go to Mount Shasta. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
That'll be great. That'll be beautiful. Holy smokes.
Oh yeah. I'm excited.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, those are the two main shows that I do during the week. And then Other than that, I'll do pop-up shows on my personal page. I mean, like yesterday. So I did my morning show and then I did a live meditation show. I'll also do, I've got to set some dates up, but I don't know when, because I'm trying to find the best thing that's not, mixed in with too many other things. But I do live reading shows. So Robin mentioned oracle cards. I do have a few myself that I do love to jump into. I get better results out of the oracle cards than I do my tarot cards. But so and then I have a couple new things that I'm still practicing. I'm trying to get a little bit more, memorized. But one of them is I want to do casting runes and read those. So that's something that I'm still working on. I just haven't memorized all of it because there's so many runes. So
I know there is a lot of runes.
So I might have a cheat sheet, but I still want to do it just because I've done it a couple times for a few people, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty darn dead on. Okay, we're gonna keep going with this. Not that I would have given up, but it was scary. Like right out of the gate, things were popping. I'm like, oh, that's happening right now. Yes. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, room readings are coming. So
that's gonna be cool. That's like I just started doing. I started like kind of coming out of the closet with my crystal gazing.
That's cool.
I've been doing it for a long time by myself, and I started kind of coming out of the closet, and then I started I started like incorporating it into my sessions, and before you know it, I'm like teaching a class on crystal gazing. How did that happen? I don't know.
And even then, so something much like that. I have two other things that are basically the same, but I haven't even started to work on them. But I want to get into scrying. So I have a black obsidian bowl that you would fill it up with water, and you look into the water. And then I also have a gigantic obsidian plate that's like basically got such a shiny mirrored finish that I want to do that with that one. So I not only have a wet one, then I can just do it on a plate, So I'm like, there's two other things I want to do so bad.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I mean, there's so many interesting things and different ways that you could use your gifts and incorporate.
And they call to you. That's what I love too. They call to you, and when you're ready for it, like I never in a million years would have said I would have ever started doing tarot. I do a weird version of tarot, but doing tarot and oracle card readings, I never would have thought that. I'm just going to talk to your loved one. I'm just going to share the information, and that's it. I didn't think I would ever grow from that. Like that. I mean, get better at it, of course, but I never thought I would like. Here, let's do this. This kind of gives it a different twist to it. And I'm like, oh,
well,
okay.
People think that the cards are a crutch, but they really aren't. They're just an expansion.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
It.
And go ahead.
I remember years ago, I used to go to my psychic, like back in the 90s. And I used to go to my lady, and she would read the tarot and she'd do all that stuff, right? And she kept telling me that I'd be doing that in the future. And I thought, I don't do that. Like, how I can't read the tarot for nothing, I still to this day am not good with tarot. I do oracle, but like she kept saying, oh, you're going to be sitting in my seat and you're going to be doing, you're going to be like doing all this stuff. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know how that's ever going to happen. And I never really like believed it. And now I'm actually doing what she said I was going to be doing. But it's not reading the tarot the way she did it. So
yeah, you find what works for you. I think, when you do that, because that's the thing is you can read the cards for face value, but what else is coming through? Are you getting it from your guides? Are you getting it from theirs or their loved ones and stuff like that? Because you just all of a sudden that information starts coming out and you're like, okay, here's the card, but here's why, and here's this and that. And so you just kind of start filling in all this stuff. So it's not just like, here's the name of the card, energy, and then you move on. That's how it works.
Right. Yeah.
But that's cool. Definitely. I love that.
Or even when you make energy grids for the healing, like before I do a Akashic read, I'll do a personal grid for you. And then I send it to you so you can look at it and get the energy going before we begin. So I mean, even that, it's just another tool that expands it.
Correct. Yeah. It's just so amazing. That's why I love I love when I get to talk to people like all of you, and then I do so much more paranormal, so you don't really get to see ladies like yourselves and all everybody, you just, and so like when I hear you guys talking, I'm just like on your shows and stuff, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm like foaming at the mouth going, this is so cool, you know, because I'm like, I love this so much. And it's like, you guys are using terms. I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying, but it sure sounds cool. And so I'm like, I love it.
But we love your shows too. We
I
think
have no idea what I'd say it half the time.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like I talk real simple because it's like when I doing the paranormal stuff, people don't understand the big words, or they don't understand the way you want to really say it, because that's how it should be. So I'm like, I have to keep it really super simple for people, because they just like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I
But
get it.
I find that you kind of just adjust your language to whoever it is you're talking to.
You're right.
You know,
Yep.
if they're using terms that are advanced, then you use those terms. But if not, then you just keep it simple. When Yahshua told me to write the Flow of Life Energy class, he said, keep it simple.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Yeah. That's what, and that's the thing is when I get to go to a holistic event, even just as like just a paid person, just to go and walk around, I'm like a kid in a candy store, because I'm just like, who can I talk to that's going to just say all this cool things? So.
And you know, and the other thing is like, there's so many people out there that are like doing this type of thing. And I don't know about you, but sometimes like when I start putting things together, I'll, especially when I'm editing or whatever, like I just got done making my own little intro.
Oh, cool.
And I started kind of like doing it, and I'd been thinking about it for a long time. But then I was like, I can't do all of those cool graphics like some people do, you know, and they have this thing shooting across the screen and all this kind of stuff. And I kind of like talked myself out of it. And then one day I was told, be yourself, do what you can do. And make it yours, like make it yours, authentic yours. And so I did, and I started putting it together, and I was so excited. It's only a little 1 minute clip. Yeah. And I got so excited, didn't I, Bonnie? I was like, hey, look what I made.
It was really amazing too. It turned out really good.
Yeah, and it came out professional, even though I didn't have all of the things that the professional people would have.
Yeah,
like it turned out, and it was like, but it had me, it had my essence inside of it. And so like what I guess I'm trying to say is that people out there, just do what feels you, and don't try to be somebody else or do something in the way that somebody else does. And I love the feeling that I get with you, Adam, because like I can feel your uniqueness. I can feel like you just do whatever feels right with you. Yeah. And you're not trying to like follow a certain kind of like what a black swamp medium should be.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is, it's one thing like when I opened up that mediumship door, I mean, yeah, you're kind of following, you're doing a lot of the exercises to get yourself really going and feeling comfortable with it. And then it's amazing. As soon as you get to that comfortable state, then you feel like, now I can see, well, I can do this. This seems really kind of cool for me to do. And, you know, my healings are my own. They're not the same as what I learned. I mean, the essence is there. You know, when I do paranormal investigations, you know, my removals are a little bit different, but still basically the same. But I do some unique things that I've just tried and experimented. So I'm always coming up with things that maybe will help me do what I do and love to do better.
Yeah. You guys, we're at the end.
I was going to say, thank you, Adam, so much for coming on, giving us a little bit of you, letting us feel you, letting us like kind of like your music, your energy, getting to know you a little bit more. We're so excited to have you hosting a Unity Circle. Your Unity Circle is going to be on August 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. It's definitely going to be something that I will be there. I'm hoping that the people out there will be there, and it's going to be just amazing. I can't wait to be there with you, and just whatever happens.
That's it. Amazing. Oh, thank you both so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure and an honor to be here, and I can't wait to talk to you both again soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, until then, we're going to be coming back on with Kathleen in a few minutes.